Hi everyone, it's Sam from Sitemate. Waste tracking is a key part of any environmental management operation, ensuring that quantities are recorded accurately for financial purposes and maintaining compliance with legal reporting obligations, especially with environmental protection agencies, is a key part of delivering any project. And traditionally, all of this was done using a physical docket book, a physical book that required you to manually fill out on paper records of all this information, and then manually summing up that information, manually putting it into Excel, generating charts manually. The whole process used to take a monumental amount of time. But in this video, we're going to look at how we can streamline the whole process end to end with Dashpivot. From creating the dockets and organizing them in real time, digitally in the cloud, to automatically generating charts for reporting and automatically distributing notifications to the right people and relevant stakeholders automatically. So we're going to run through that in this video. What we have here is a template, a waste tracking docket template, which has been set up inside of Dashpivot, and it's been set up as a workflow. And what that means is that if we were to add a new docket, which we'll do in a sec, it'll first appear in this column for load collected. So you can imagine that the person out on site, once they've collected the load, they fill out a docket and it sits here. And then once they sign it off upon delivery, or once it's been disposed, it will move across to this column here. So it'll make it really easy to track what stage all of the loads are up to. And that's the idea with the workflow. We're going to go ahead and add a new docket now. So all we have to do is click the green button. It'll open up our digital form, which has already been pre-configured. So we can start to populate this. So we can pop in the date. We can add in, we've got a table here for all of the relevant information for the materials. So we can say, all right, this is company A. We're collecting waste from the Northern Compound. The time is 9:30 in the morning. The material class might just be general waste. The tonnage, 18 tons. Truck type, where we're going to dispose it, maybe at the quarry. And then our delivery time, 2 hours later. And of course, we can add a photo of the weighbridge or receipt. And then the person who's receiving the load at the other end can sign off manually. It'll just prompt for like a name and a signature. All of this can be done using the app. And then you can sign it off once it's saved. Once it's been completed and delivered, and what that will do is it'll move it across to the other column. So to illustrate the way that this works, I won't sign it just yet. I'm just going to click Save. And you'll see that it appears initially in this column for load collected. We've got all of our information filled out. So let's imagine now that we've arrived at the disposal facility and we've disposed of the load. We can then reopen up the docket, scroll down to the bottom, click Sign, and it'll stamp our signature on here with the time and date. And as soon as we save it, you'll see that it's now moved from the first column to the second column. And you can imagine that over the course of a job, when you've got hundreds, if not thousands of these dockets stored in here, being able to know, I guess, which dockets have been closed out and which ones haven't is really powerful. It means that you're not going to have to spend a lot of time chasing dockets down to collect that information. It's all stored digitally. You can fill it out on the phone. It'll all appear on the website in real time. And one of the great things about the workflow feature inside of Dashpivot is that we can set up automatic notifications. So we can nominate, by clicking this eyeball here, we can nominate from the people in our team who we would like to send a notification to each time a docket moves into this column here. So maybe we want to notify John every time. And we can set it up for this column too, but it's probably not as applicable in this case. Basically, what this will do is every time a docket moves across to here, as we've just done, in this case, John would now receive an email notification. So if we did another one and moved it across, John would receive an email notification. It'd say, hey, there's a new docket that's now sitting in the load disposed column. Click here to open it. You could open up Dashpivot, have a look, review the information, and send it off to any other applicable parties. And this is an effective way of automatically notifying people once a form, or a docket in this case, completes the workflow process. So you can imagine that over time you might have hundreds, if not thousands, of dockets inside of Dash Pivot. It might end up looking something a little bit like this, where you have some dockets that are still sort of open, which have recorded quantities that have been received but not delivered. And of course, you're going to end up with a pile of dockets that are sort of sitting in this last column here, which have been delivered. Now, one of the things about Dash Pivot that's really helpful is that we can convert the way that we view this information from a workflow, which is what we're looking at now, to a register. So we can click on the register view, and suddenly we have a line item for every date, and we have a column for every field that we have on our form. So it's been organized so that we've got the workflow step here. So these are all the loads that have been delivered, the dates of delivery, and all of the relevant details captured on all of those dockets. So the different companies, the rego, the location, class of material, tonnage, trucks, etc. And the beauty of this is that, similarly to Excel, we can apply filters. So we can say, all right, well, show me all of the dockets that have a particular type of waste recorded on that docket. And so you could select from here, apply the filter, and return those results. Now, once you've done that, you also have the ability to export it. So everything inside of Dash Pivot can be exported. You can select either individually, and you'll see that the export options appear as soon as I select something, or we can bulk select everything and export all together. We can export it as a CSV file, as a PDF, or download the individual forms as a PDF, which comes out looking something like this, with all the same information that we recorded inside of Dash Pivot. So we've got a range of options here, which allows us to take the information out and plug it into some other software if we need to, or just into Excel, generate some custom analytics. Maybe you're trying to merge different data sets together, whatever works for you. But we do have some analytics tools built directly into Dash Pivot, which can pull this information out and track, for example, in this case, all of these tonnage quantities over time. So we're going to take a look at that now. If I click on Analytics, we've already set up a dashboard for waste tracking, and we've set up a couple of charts here. And what this is telling us is that it's a quantity chart. That's the type of chart that we're using here. It's pulling that information from the waste tracking docket template. We're pulling it from the material table and the material weight column within that table. So it's telling us, giving us an overview of where this information is coming from, in case you were wondering. And we've plotted all of the data that we have here 4 times. So I've got 4 different charts, but I've applied different filters in each of these charts. So you can see this one has been filtered by the disposal location. So we can see roughly, which quantities each day have been disposed to which location. So you can see on these particular days, these red days, this has gone to ABC Recycling. The other days, the light blue is the quarry. So we can get an idea of where all of our waste is going. This one up here, this is looking at the material classification. So you can see the different colors here for the different types of waste which we're dealing with. This one has the waste origin location, so which site we're collecting our waste from before we dispose of it. And the last one that we've got up here is just for the company who's collecting it. So depending on those drop downs which we have inside of our table, we can filter by all of those parameters, and we can combine them together. So we can say, all right, company equals either company A, B, or C, and the rego equaled X, or the material classification was asbestos. We can combine these together and to give us a real insight into, I guess, the analytics behind the waste that we're tracking, which can help us make sure that we're staying on top of our reporting obligations and give us an idea of where we're up to. One last thing that I want to point out about the analytics is that you've got the option to enable what we call the S-curve. And what this is doing is it's just showing us the cumulative value or the quantity, cumulative quantity, which has been recorded from all of our records, in this case these dockets. So you can see that this chart here has it turned on, this one too, but these ones don't, which is why the bars are a little bit bigger. So yeah, that pretty much sums up everything that I wanted to cover in this video. If you want to use this particular template, we do have a free one available within the public template library. So if you head to templates, go to add new template, and then click on choose from free public template library, just search for waste tracking and this template will come up. And if you need a hand with anything, we do have a live chat down the bottom here, so you can chat with us, or you can search through our knowledge base. So if you wanted to learn something about cloning forms, if I type in clone form, it'll come up with some results. You can open up our articles, have a bit of a read through. In this way, this might be the fastest way to get the answers that you're looking for. And that's how you can effectively streamline your waste tracking dockets with Dash Pivot, automatically generate your charts, meet your environmental management reporting obligations, and get on with delivering your project. I hope that this has been useful, and as always, thanks for watching.